Welcome to Speak Your Truth, a podcast created to promote self-awareness and unlock your potential, giving you the strength to live your truth.
So welcome back to Speak Your Truth. Last week, we talked about your why and finding that why so you can have a good foundation, because things get hard, man. And when things get hard, you have a good enough why, you endure through those things. So today we're going to talk about self-awareness. That'll be the next step, because if you know where you are, then you can work on getting to where you want to go. So self-awareness being pretty important, because if you don't go inside your own head and kind of figure out who you are, it's really hard to get yourself to go anywhere. So Aaron, what are your thoughts on self-awareness, man?
Well, self-awareness to me is a big portion of really trying to take inventory of the way you think, your current lifestyle, your situation. There's a lot of things you can do to help establish better self-awareness. I know a big thing lately is meditation. I really like journaling, getting the thoughts that are in your head out onto a piece of paper and really starting to flow through what's going through your head, whether it's what you're thinking, how you feel. And something else, just to go a little more in depth, would be jotting down your daily schedule, what you're eating, what you're doing, how much time you're investing into all the activities in your life. It really is beneficial to see where your priorities are, because as we all know, time is a very limited resource, and it's the most valuable resource because of that. And once you realize what you're spending the most time on, it makes it a lot easier to take those next steps on adjusting that focus to get you to where you want to go. I know for a lot of people, family is something that if you ask them, they always want to spend more time with family, but they never seem to have time. Well, this is something for me that's been a huge portion of really kind of getting out of my own way and having the ability to help me realize how much time I actually have, or really how much time I'm wasting. And that time could be used to invest into a better you and a better future.
I'm glad you mentioned journaling. Journaling is so important. It's kind of like figuring out who you are and not lying to yourself, because it's so easy to go through a day and actually tell yourself, oh, I did everything I could today to become who I want to become. And then you really look back on it and you're really honest with yourself and you audit your environment and the time that you're spending, and you realize that you're not doing the things that you should be doing. And it feels like you should be doing the things. So basically, if we can figure out what we're doing with our time, documenting it, and then changing it little bits at a time, not big, just little bits. Because if you try to change things too quickly and too drastically, you'll stop. So if you can journal and write things down, like throughout your day, how often are you on Facebook? How often are you on Instagram? How often are you doing something that is not of value? What you need to do is you need to figure out exactly what you want and then add in one small habit, a 10-minute habit, a 30-minute habit, something small. Something that is so small that it's so easy to do. Like for me, one of my first habits in my health is the drinking a gallon of water. It was so easy, but I felt so good afterwards because I felt like I was in control. And that's really what it boils down to. If you're in control of your time, you then want to create more habits, one habit at a time, until you've stacked enough habits where now you have all of the successful habits of the successful people.
I think you make a great point when you talk about taking back control. And I don't know if it's just me, but I feel like one of the biggest issues we face in life is overall, I know for myself, the biggest issue I have is feeling out of control all the time. And like you mentioned, these little habits, these little wins where you set a goal that's so simple, it's hard not to do it, and then do it consistently over and over and over again. It goes right back to establishing a really solid foundation and building that confidence to then push forward and add in other small goals. And then eventually, as those small wins, those small goals accumulate, your confidence accumulates and starts to grow. And with that confidence, that's what's going to take you to those big goals and really kind of set your world on fire to the point where you're pursuing what you've always wanted.
And it's all about, you want to really set yourself up for those wins, and you want to appreciate those wins. So enjoy them. It's something small. It doesn't have to be big. The gallon of water every single day. I feel better every single day drinking that gallon of water. So I take a moment and I take in the win, and I put it in my head, and I think, wow, I'm doing a great job, and I give myself that credit. Because if you can give yourself the credit, with each win you get, the bigger the win, then the bigger the reward you're going to get at the end. And we're kind of here today to try to help people get them lined up to actually have an action plan. Because there's a lot of people out there, a lot of podcasts, a lot of YouTube videos that promote motivation and inspiration, and they say go for your dream, and they talk about all kinds of cool stuff. But do they give you a step-by-step? Do they give you that tangible thing that you can do? So what we're talking about here is actually setting up a journal. You can buy a journal or you can build a journal. You want to build habits. So create that, set up your day in half-hour increments, and really be honest with yourself. Get yourself set up so you know exactly what you're going to do. Now, don't try to change everything. Like I said before, just document. If you document, you figure out what you're doing, it'll set you up to win, because you'll either get fed up with what you're doing, or you'll figure out the things you're doing right and try to compound them. Because if you can compound the things you're doing right, it'll make it so much easier to then transition to becoming what you want to become. So with me, it's water, and then it's food, and then I can work in everything else, because that's my setup. Everybody's going to have a different setup. Not everybody's going to be the same, and that's perfect, because everybody has a different gift they're given. So it's all about the habits. And if you can change one habit at a time, it can really get you going in the right direction. So Aaron, what would you say is a great first habit to change? I know with me it was the water, but that was for me. Now it might be something different for somebody else.
Well, like you mentioned, everybody's going to have their own situation and lifestyle and goal or deal. Like we mentioned before, the first thing is a habit that you really got to start doing is to take inventory of what you're doing every day.
Okay, so what you're saying is the actual journaling is the best first habit.
Right. Well, in my opinion, it's really hard to make any significant and lasting change in life if you have no reference point of what you're doing currently. This is something that I got really into, especially helping to coach people with like diet and exercise. As example, is people would come to me and want to change their diet. Well, the hardest thing to do is change something you know nothing about. So anytime I would have someone come to me for advice on their eating habits, the first thing I had to do was get them to tell me what their eating habits actually were. Because everybody, especially when you're talking self-help and motivation, is going to have this like cookie cutter plan that's going to tell you all these things that you need to be doing, which is great. I don't want to take anything away from that. But what a lot of people may not understand is the only way they can successfully implement those things is when they realize what they are actually doing every single day. Once you have that idea, that breakdown of what your day is and unfolds, what you'll notice really, really quickly is we're all creatures of habit. What you do today is probably what you're going to do tomorrow, or very similar. What happens this week is pretty much going to be the exact same situation or scenario next week. And from that, you have a lot more power to go through and then alter one or two things and just focus on making those things consistent. It's like Will Smith always references his dad made him build a wall. And the one thing he did was lay one brick perfectly every single day. And the accumulation of those bricks created the wall that he was trying to build, but it made it so perfect that that wall is essentially impenetrable, which is really kind of the key. Is I know for myself, and I'm sure the people listening out there, I've had ass load of fire, like an energy and motivation to go out there and radically change my world, and everything's great for about a week. And then those old habits, the things that I never paid attention to or took the time to realize I was doing, slowly would start to creep their way back in. And instead of creating this massive change, I would eventually get so off track that I would just quit. And by setting yourself up for success, by knowing what you're doing and slowly implementing these changes, they can be lasting changes. And the biggest key to success is consistency.
It's like the tortoise and the hare. The hare had the speed, but not the staying power. So I think what we want to talk about right now is, what kind of habits do you guys have? Sure that you guys can come up with all ideas and all kinds of cool things to share with this community, and a lot of the things that we don't even implement right now that may be working for you, and I'm sure you can help someone else with helping with their habits. So yeah, reach out and share it, man. Like, I'm sure that there's someone out there that can help me, because I mean, what the fuck do I know, really? I'm just some guy that wants to help change the world one brick at a time. When it comes to creating those habits, it's really hard to do it alone. When you have that mastermind style group all working together to create those habits and journaling and actually being held accountable, you know, for the actions that you're taking, because it's so easy to just stop. And we kind of want to make it so it's harder to stop. Let's try to lift each other up, because I'm sure there's someone out there right now that's like, hey man, these guys, they know some cool stuff. And then there's other people out there like, hey, this is old news. Why are they even talking about it? Because there's someone out there that doesn't know this yet. And there's someone out there that does and wants to share it and to help that other person. So, you know, reach out. Let us know what kind of habits that you guys implemented, or what kind of habits you want to implement, but you're not really sure how to. And maybe we can help, or maybe someone else listening can reach out and help, and we can just bring it out in the open and help enlighten people. Because that's really what it's all about. You know, I just met Aaron probably, a month ago?
Something like that.
And one conversation, and all of a sudden we're doing a podcast. Like, how does that happen? And there's someone out there that needs to hear what we're saying. And I think there's someone out there that needs to tell us something that could help us.
Well, that's the whole point of this podcast is, and this is why we call this Speak Your Truth, is it isn't really about us. It's about everybody else. And that includes everybody listening out there. Is the more we can all get together and throw in our experiences and our opinions and our ideas, the better we are at connecting with others and helping to empower others as well too. I know he mentioned a few times getting you guys to give us your experiences and thoughts and things you struggle with, because that's what this is. That's what we're going for, is basically a support system and a community to empower you to improve yourself and really to help improve everyone out there that wants to get better.
Yeah, because everyone out there, they have a God-given gift, man. And it's a shame that some people are never going to use that gift, or they may never even know it. There's people that are working jobs right now, they're miserable, and they're too afraid to do the thing that they're born to do. And that hits me deep, because that was me. Before doing this, that was exactly my position. I was working at a full-time job. I was miserable, and I tried to love my job. I tried to love what I do, what I did before, but it wasn't firing me up. It wasn't fueling my fire. And the minute that I realized helping people was something that I wanted to do, I started researching and learning. And I've been on this journey for a long time, and my fear was stopping me. I was letting it. I was giving it my power, but no longer. I'm taking my power back, taking my control back. Once I was able to get out of my own head and start to do the thing that I was born to do, everything has been awesome. I've gone through trials, having, financial trouble, you name it. I've gone through a ton of stuff. And the beautiful thing about it is I've never mind, no matter what storm I'm in. It doesn't matter what you're going through. There's a big difference between happiness and joy. And it's you make a lot of money, you can be happy. You get a new girlfriend, you can be happy. You get a promotion, you can be happy. But your joy is something that it doesn't get created by environment, doesn't get created by situations. Joy is something built in, but you got to build it. And once you build it, it's like a permanent building. It can't be broken, but you have to work hard to keep it. I feel like I'm rambling here, so we're gonna work on wrapping this up. As you can tell, I'm pretty emotional about what we're doing here. It's pretty powerful.
You're excited, man. It's all good.
Yeah, and that's the best thing about what we're doing. We're just putting our thoughts out there into the universe and hoping it helps people. But it's kind of therapeutic for us to just put it out there and just kind of see what sticks. We're gonna let you go now.
But what the fuck do we know?
I love that.
Again, this is all about you and speaking your own truth.
So thanks again for joining us at Speak Your Truth.
Thanks for joining us. If this message has moved you in any way, all we ask is you take 3 steps. 1, take action. 2, tell a friend.
And always speak
your
truth.